It's your boy Titsy Japan back with another episode of ATAS across time and space. What's going on? Got Ace over here from Cross Culture. About to hit you off with his self-introduction over here on episode 69. Go ahead, hit him off, man.
Yo, episode 69, you gotta watch that. But yeah, you already know it's your boy Ace of Cross Culture. We back at it again, episode 69. Yeah. I got the 5 right there. We got the 4. We got the 9. Yeah.
I don't even know. Yeah, man. It's good to be back to the standard fanfare, you know? Starting a brand new book today. But before that, before we get into the book and into our reading for the day, how you doing?
Well, I'm not doing the best that I could be, but I'm trying to take it one day at a time. That's all we can do.
Doing the best.
Oh, man.
Doing the best today.
Not the best today, but yeah, one day at a time. What about you?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good.
Okay.
I just went to church, and I missed church last week. Yeah, I missed church last week, man. But it's good to be back, you know? I'm feeling well. Insert a joke here. I don't know if I can throw that up. WPL, locked and loaded.
Yo.
Insert a joke here. He had something to say over here. Talking all that AC-ness. Yeah, so hold on. I mean, we just jumped through the intro. Let me get to the recap, because last week was a complete blowout. This is an explosion.
Yo, last week was crazy.
Right?
Man.
Right? Everybody had a whole lot to say about video games, but it was a good segue into the direction that we're going next. Gonna be talking about this book by Reggie Fils-Aime, and also narrated by Reggie Fils-Aime. For the audience, for anybody that doesn't know who he is the former CEO of Nintendo of America. And he's black, folks. He's black. He's also the son of immigrants from Haiti, right? But he identifies himself as what he is. And speaking of like background, it sounds similar to our backgrounds in a sense.
Oh yeah,
child of immigrants, right?
Definitely.
What blood do you got in you, if you don't mind me asking, Ace?
I mean, for me, it's Jamaican. So I'm like 3/4 Jamaican. But I did do my ancestry DNA, and some of the stuff that came up was kind of crazy. I'm talking like Irish, like it was like less than 1% Irish, like less than 1% Swedish, and then like African, Western African, and then some Jamaican came up. But yeah, those 2 white races there, it's kind of strange.
I mean, we all related at some point.
Oh yeah.
But like my question, well, you identified with 75%.
That Jamaican yardie, reggae sauce, all of that. I tried to connect to the roots, and now my wife is saying that I need to teach the kids patois. So
there you go, showing them where they from. That's all good, man. And I got some of that in myself as well. I think it's a quarter Jamaican.
A quarter? Just a quarter?
Well, if a parent is, but what? How does that work? Yeah. So one parent is half Jamaican, and the other is 100% Dominican. So that makes me 75% island.
Yeah. Claim that.
But 50% Dominican, and then not Dominican Republic. Much love.
That is a completely different thing.
But So for me, I have that Dominican heritage. Big ups to everybody in CT, in the Connecticut Douglases. All right.
Okay.
It's like a Dominican community that we got there in CT. But yeah, it's all good. So getting to our new subject, our new focus for the next however so long. He's got a book called Disrupting the Game, from the Bronx to the Top of Nintendo. Right. So it's also very close. It's that Northeast West Indian heritage, and then going out and taking over whatever you can, to make the world a better place. So, we're going to get on that right now. What we did was we went through the intro, the preface, and chapter 1. All right, intro, preface, and chapter 1. So, let's get a piece of the action. There's a lot in there that made it interesting, but looking at today's episode title, Reggie Fils-Aime says farewell. He said farewell to his mentor, and I wanted to start off with that question because last month we had a tribute episode. It was a farewell to someone who had a huge influence on my life and had influence on yours as well. I'm sure, 100%.
Yeah.
So let me ask, as far as like mentors, have you had to say goodbye to someone outside the family that meant something to you, as far as like, being a mentor or being a mentor, a sponsor, or there's another one that he said it was important. Make sure I got this here. As a mentor,
sponsor.
Yeah, it was like 3 different types. Or a coach.
No, it wasn't a coach.
No, because a coach talks to you, a mentor talks with you, and a sponsor talks about you in a good way when you're not around.
But I didn't think it was coach that he said.
I don't
know. I mean,
good word for it.
Yeah, I ain't got the book in front of me.
I have it in my heart and on my notes. So yeah,
I need to get a pen, a pad, and write it down.
That's usually the rule.
Yeah.
So have you lost any mentors, coaches, or sponsors in your lifetime?
Are you talking about outside the family?
Yeah.
Outside the family. You know what? Yes. Literally.
Who was it?
A coach. Literally a coach.
Okay.
I'm gonna shout him out. He did pass away. But for any of those who may be listening who knew him or went to AUC, shout out Atlantic Union College, no more. Coach Sandy Smith. Sandy Smith. This was somebody who had a lot of difficulty growing up, wound up making it to the NBA.
What?
Wow. To the NBA. This got to be like back in the maybe the 80s, something like that. And he said that he just gave it up because he found God and it just wasn't jiving with who he was. So boom, gave it up and taught basketball at the college. He was the athletic director, so he did more than just basketball. But he's a really cool dude. And one of the things that he said, and anybody who has ever met him or listened to him will know the saying, it's if you trust God fully, then God is fully responsible for the outcome. And it seems like it's something so simple. It's like, well, of course, of course I trust God. It's like, no, if you trust him completely, then he is completely responsible. So not like, oh yeah, I trust him in these aspects of my life, but I'm going to take my own route over here. Like, no, completely with your life, then he is completely responsible for what happens. Yeah.
Now, did he say that to you as he was coaching you, or?
He said that
like to the whole group, or how did it work?
He said that multiple different times to the group. He wasn't my mentor one-on-one, but yeah, that was something that he said a lot.
Wow. Now, Now, why at that time? Why were you open, or why was the group open to his instruction, more like directive advice or a directive suggestion? Why were you guys open to that, or why were you open to it?
I think it's because he would start the class. We wouldn't start the class on the court. We start the class in the student lounge that happened to be in the gym area.
Okay, lounge.
And he was just like, everybody get a seat, sign the attendance. And he would start with a story about his life. So he showed himself to be human. He's like, I made this mistake back then, and this is how I got over it. If you want to hear more about it, we could talk about it after class. But so he didn't put himself on a pedestal. He said, you guys may hold me in high regard. I've been to the NBA. I lived that lifestyle. I came out of it. This is how I got into the NBA. This is the determination and grit that I had to show. And these are the mistakes that I made in my life. So he showed himself to be human, which a lot of pastors I've come to see are like scared of. It's like, oh, I don't want people knowing who I was. But one of my favorite writers says, we have nothing to fear for the future unless we forget where God has brought us from. So
you just roll those
your
out
testimony.
Like Hold on. You don't just roll those out there like that. Full speed. Hold on. We're not even ready for it, man. Hold on. He says, you don't just, I'm sorry. One more time. Now
we have nothing to fear.
Yes.
We have nothing to fear lest we forget where God has brought us from. We have nothing to fear for the future lest we forget where God has brought us from.
We have nothing to fear for the future unless we forgot where God has brought us from. Janice,
that's how it is.
Who's like looking forward and looking back. You see it.
I don't know anything about Janice.
You saw GoldenEye, right? Oh, come on. Right.
Saw GoldenEye the movie? No.
Yeah, GoldenEye with Pierce Brosnan and Trevelyan.
Never saw the movie. Yeah, but remember, I also didn't play campaign. And we had to play on paintball mode. Those are all the little stipulations in order for us to be able to play. The younger kids to be able to play that game.
Y'all need to go back and take a look at last week's episode. We were talking about the N64. And
we're talking about too many games, bro. Many games.
I had to just touch on that again because it connects back to the Reggie and everything. Reggie was the CEO of Nintendo of America during the GameCube era, the Wii era, the whole Wii era, and his marketing is what helped Nintendo really
drove it.
Yeah, number one system of its time, right? And when he was speaking with his mentor and friend, also business partner, Satoru Iwata, before he passed, it was like, yes.
Yeah. If you don't know Iwata, he was the dude from Nintendo who's like this every single time.
You remember what he said? Like, why was he doing that?
I don't know. I think it's more of a thing to like zoom in. Like, I'm right here. It caught everybody's attention.
What is he doing? Yeah. But it was tight. It was tight in this time. But what Reggie did was, he spoke with Satoru Iwata, on not his deathbed, but very close towards the end, in March 2015.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because he had just went to Japan in January of that year. And,
for his biannual visit.
Right. His mentor calls him back and he says, hey, you need to come at this time. It's like, well, could you give me a little more details? Like I had something planned with my wife, for my birthday. And look, I need you here these 3 days, period. Reggie, come on down. And he, he called him there for this meeting and everything. And actually, this wasn't at the hospital yet. It wasn't at the hospital yet.
No, this was in his office.
Right. He had to go to his office and they were talking Switch, like how to make the Switch happen. And And the Switch is also extremely successful for Nintendo.
Yeah.
So, set up for success. He had to set him up for success. But, he had to have a heart-to-heart conversation with them. And it's not that, Japan and the States, like, the way that marketing is done is not always the same. There's a disagreement that the Japanese had with how the Wii would be marketed. And Reggie's way is a way that we still remember to this day. You remember what they used to say in the commercials?
We would like to play with you. Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Play. With the whole like katakana.
The super.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then playing that little was it shamisen or what was that playing in the back? I think it was shamisen.
Shamisen.
No? Yeah, it's a little Japanese string instrument, and but that experience there, like he had to say no to the Japanese way. The Japanese felt,
it was too familiar.
Yeah. You coming in too familiar with these Japanese salarymen showing up somebody's house and saying we would like to play. Like, we don't even know who you are. So how are you just gonna show up at our house type of thing? In Japan, you don't just go to people's houses. And in the States, I wonder if that's a thing. That's one of my first questions.
Going to people's houses?
Yeah. Do colleagues go to colleagues' houses? You got family going to families' houses, yeah. But do colleagues go to colleagues? Co-workers?
Yeah. But I mean,
understand the culture. Go ahead.
I'm. What do you mean understand the culture? Like you weren't raised American.
No, my professional life has been profoundly shaped by Japanese culture. Yeah.
Okay.
So I really want to know, like, what's it like there?
It sounds so odd, but it's kind of like one of those things where in Japan, somebody.
Oh, let me come back out.
Somebody.
Yeah.
You know what that means, right? Like we're going for drinks after work. We're going for drinks after work. And that's that kind of the social expectation. You see that sign, like, hey. In America, it's more like you might invite somebody out for drinks and like, hey, the game's gonna be on Sunday. Come over. That's not odd. But to show up for me, it's always been a big thing. Call before you go. In my adult life, it's always been like, if I'm not calling before I go, then I'm not expecting to go in. I'll knock, hey, is so and so here, or hey, do you have this, but I'll stay until they say, yeah, come in. I'll just stay at the door, like, I'm not expecting to go in until I'm invited in.
Oh, okay.
But
and
it's a little different. Yeah, go ahead.
So if you do visit in the States, visit someone's home, do you bring something? Is it an expectation?
Ooh, so I have kind of gotten to that point where if it's the first time I'm at somebody's house, I do try to bring something. Especially if it's a party, I don't care if I've been there a million times, I'm gonna try to bring something. And usually that's mainly for me because being a vegetarian, I don't want anybody to be like, oh my goodness, you're gonna have this rice. Like, nah, don't worry about it. We straight.
Wait, hold on. You bring something to their house that you can eat?
Nah, I can eat. Yeah, usually, because I don't want them to be worried about, oh my goodness, I completely forgot. It's chill. Or I'll eat before I go. I might bring like some juice, or hey, I really want some iced tea right now. I noticed that there's none. Does anybody need anything from the store when I go? That type of thing.
But they usually say, no, I don't need anything. It's fine.
No, it's good. I mean, I see that you don't have like ice, or I can go get a 5-pound bag of ice. That's not a problem. I'll kind of insist.
You're gonna arrive there.
Arrive there.
Go there. See, they ain't got no ice, and then I'll be right back. pick up some fairy
No,
tale?
I mean it all depends. Usually that's more with family. So I arrive, and I'll
Okay.
usually jump back out to get something to drink. Something that's non-alcoholic and sweet, because that's what I do. Like a sweet tea, Arizona. Shout out. I'll just say, hey, I noticed that you don't have everything that you usually have for the carne asada. Do you need avocados? Do you need onions? What's going on? Do you need anything from the store? And I'll just run out, get it, come back. But if I'm going to like a colleague's house or something like that, and it is very Japanese, because a lot of people don't do that in the States. A lot of people don't do it. You hear of people like bringing wine, but that's, I feel like
which culture?
I'm not bringing wine.
You're not gonna.
I don't drink, and so I'm not gonna bring wine to somebody's house.
Something virgin.
I could, and I would most likely. I could bring like sparkling apple cider, that Martinelli's.
Little rose.
I'd do something like that.
Something nice and sparkling. But I mean, so the thing about Reggie is that he was in that place, at this nexus between, Japanese culture, American culture. He was friends with Reggie for a long time, but no, Reggie was friends with
Iwata.
Yeah, for a long time. But he also said that whenever he was there, he would shake his hand.
Yeah,
and that was interesting too. It wasn't a bow.
Not a bow. It was shaking of hands. Yeah, that's odd.
But that didn't stop him from becoming the CEO. It didn't stop him from being very successful, from having, the admiration of Mr. Iwata's daughter. You want to take a selfie together. And, and in fact, Mr. Iwata took the picture for him, in the hospital, right?
Because he's too tall.
Right.
He's too tall.
He said he was different. He was like a disruptor, and that's also a theme that he's going to talk about throughout this book. That's why it's called Disrupting the Game. Did you notice anything else that he said that was particularly different from Japanese style?
Well, I noticed that he didn't speak any Japanese. To me, that's crazy for you to be in the business realm where your headquarter office is in Japan and you don't speak Japanese. For me, I like to be able to speak at least a very little bit of whatever language or culture. And if I don't know the culture, I was like, hey, how do you say this in your language? How do you say this in your language? Because it might help me down the line. So for me, that was very odd.
But
that was very odd for me.
It's not that he wasn't capable of learning, right?
Oh, no.
Like, he went to Cornell, full scholarship. Excuse me, Ivy League. Is he actually an immigrant?
Right.
Because that's how they get down. Like, true story. Like, my dad is with him in that same alma mater.
Ivy League club? Dang.
Same school,
Dang, okay.
Yeah, but it was like, it's not that he couldn't study, but he was there to do business. He was there to make relationships. And for him, learning a language was not a necessary thing in order to do that. And in fact, maybe the fact that he did things different is what helped him propel him forward within the company.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He said there was a balancing act that you have to do between persistence and empathy when you're trying to convince people to see things your way. The conversation.
Yeah.
It got really deep there when he's talking about like that, the difference between those two. And I wanted to ask you, but I can't put it into a banner because it's too long.
Go ahead, just ask it.
So he said that it's really important to separate your core beliefs from your desire to be right. And desire to be right, that's like the ego thing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So have you found yourself in situations like that, and how do you separate yourself from something you really see it as right, but it's not like it has to be me. Somebody else could make a suggestion. I would just as easily pick it up if it were them. Have you found yourself in situations like that, and something that you could, impart to the audience that'll help them process through that situation?
No, I never found myself in that situation because I'm always right. No.
No.
And that's it. Be right.
Yeah. And that's what it is.
And that's
That's why you listen. Go ahead.
I get it, and I feel like the only thing that has really helped me is to take intentional time to be introspective, because with that introspection comes a lot of digging into your own self to see how you would have did things differently if things were going a separate or a different way, how you would have stopped it or continued it. But in order for that hindsight to be 2020, you have to actually look behind you. You know what I mean? So
2020, like 365 degrees, you gotta
no. 2020 as in like your vision is 2020. It's like hindsight is 2020 means like you always know what you should have done after the situation is over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like you can always see when you're looking back, but a lot of people just like step forward and don't look back. There's no time for processing or introspection. They're just like, I'm gonna keep moving. I'm gonna keep going forward. That thing is not gonna get to me. And sometimes we need those things to get to us, because sometimes we say something that upsets somebody and we may not think of it as upsetting somebody. Oh yeah, I was just joking around. I didn't do it in a way that I wasn't trying to hurt them, so therefore they shouldn't be hurt. But that's not how it goes. If somebody says something to me that hurts me, trust and believe, I've come to the point where I've been bullied enough, so I'm gonna let you know, like, hey, I wasn't really feeling what you said there. But a lot of people don't have that. So one thing that we can all do is check ourselves, and that's something that has to happen in order for our ego to diminish. If you check yourself, then you won't wreck yourself, as they used to say.
If you check yourself, you won't wreck yourself. Now, how do you check yourself? Because I know there are a few steps in there, and that one could be checking your breathing. Am I breathing smoothly? Or have I been choking up? Like you don't, like if you listen to somebody like real close to me, if they say something that's just like, oh, that triggered me. Wait a minute, am I triggered? Am I not breathing as deeply as I should be? Wait a minute. Oh, my ego is damaged. My ego wants to jump.
I didn't think about that. I did not think about that.
But are there other, like, that's what I'm saying. That's how the conversation raises level, because you may know some other things that help you to realize that you're being triggered. Are there other things you think of, like physiologically, that are like, oh, wait a minute, that's it.
Yes and no. It is okay. So one of the things that I've been kind of studying a little bit is lucid dreaming, because I've never had a lucid dream. Lucid dream is when you can control everything. You realize that you're dreaming, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to take control of this. Like, I'm going to fly. I'm going to plan out the rest of my life, or what would I do if I had $1 million, and all of this stuff. And you just act out in your dream your wildest dreams and fantasies. The thing about it is that there are ways to become a lucid dreamer. So little things like pinching yourself regularly throughout the day. Like, okay, oh, this is reality. To where when you're dreaming, you'll unconsciously do so. And he's like, this isn't reality. Okay. Writing down your dreams when you wake up, being able to recount those things. All of these things work towards that. What I'm getting at is the intentional action to make sure. So now if we're looking at intentional actions when we need to diminish our ego, or we're getting heated in an argument because they don't see it the way that we see it. One of the things that I've seen is taking a breath, or counting 2 Mississippis before you actually respond. Because we respond instinctually with our trauma, with our hurt self. When we feel like we need to defend ourselves, then we're just like, no, well, that's not what I said. You know, you're not seeing it. It's like, I understand where you're coming from, but that's not exactly what I was trying to say. Let me go back to the beginning so that I can make sure that what I'm saying is getting across. So those are the same way of saying, or 2 different ways of saying the same thing. One of which is going to paint you negatively. The other of which is going to make other people mad at you because you're calm and cool and collected.
Yeah. Their ego. Like, you could be saying something about their ego by taking those actions. Your ego is out of control. I'm going to show you how. I'm going to handle you, you wild animal.
What does the Bible say? What does the Bible say?
Life and death.
Speaking a kind word turns away wrath.
Oh, yes.
But there's also another one that talks about, another proverb that talks about speaking softly to your enemies will be as heaping hot coals upon their head.
Yes.
And a lot of people take that out of context, because the hot coals on your head is a redemptive measure. It's like, I'm sorry for what I did. So therefore, not just like, oh my goodness, I'm getting hot, I'm getting heated. No. Yeah, it's a redemptive measure. So take with that as you will.
Oh well, that's good. That's positive advice for sure. And I really like the 2 Mississippis. What Reggie would probably say, just to add on to that, is to ask clarifying questions of the other party.
He did mention that, definitely.
Demonstrate understanding of what they're saying. And then, if you realize that your point is actually going to be better for both of you, then, use data to support it, use other industry examples, and search for common ground, and state what the common ground is. And then finally, take a stand. This is the stance. This is the best thing. And as he said to Mr. Iwata, you hired me a few months ago to make these types of decisions. And this is my position. I'm being empathetic towards where you are, but this is what's going to be best for the company. And just state it like that. And he did, and he was right. And as a result,
you know what? I did hire you.
Yeah, I did hire you. I did say I was going to trust what you say, so let me trust you. The other advice I'd have for you guys is get yourself a pen, a pad, write it down. It's the best way to do it. It's your boy TPC Japan telling you that that's what it is. Take us home, Ace.
You already know it's your boy Ace of Cross Culture. Thanks for joining us. Definitely leave comments in the comment section. Hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you know exactly when we're going live. Next week, we're going to be on Cross Culture. You see the link in the description below. Until next time, stay prayed up. Be blessed.